Have you ever felt like you don't belong? Like you maybe shouldn't call yourself something that you are just because you feel like you aren't good enough? Well, you just might be suffering from imposter syndrome, and I deal with that a lot, so hopefully I can set your mind at ease a little, or at least make you feel like you aren't alone. First though, the art. So this particular art piece is one of the stickers for my Patreon mail club for January. This is one of my past timeline characters for Trace. Her name is Neela, and she is the leader of the main group in the past timeline. Being a half-dragon and being from a much warmer region, I imagine this being her first time seeing snow. She's honestly delighted by it, and I adore her so much. She is sweet and strong and should be protected at all costs. If you want this sticker, as well as the other one in the print, definitely check out my Patreon link below. The theme was fresh snow, and I think these turned out really cute. So now, back to the video. Imposter Syndrome. So, Imposter Syndrome is a really weird and common phenomenon where someone who is capable and deserving of their achievements and abilities feels like they're completely undeserving and may even feel like they have no business being in the position they're in at all or having accomplished the things they have. I've definitely noticed a lot of artists struggle with this. No matter the art form, many creators go through this and feel this way. Heck, even outside of art, it's still prominent. My sister, Andy Cole, here on YouTube, is a historian. She's done a ton of research in her schooling and is extremely smart, as well as getting into a major scholars program and accepted into an awesome school for her master's and even has a degree right now. She has her bachelor's. She's getting ready to start into her master's at Johns Hopkins. And she's so smart, and she still struggles with it. Despite everything she's managed, she's told me she feels as though she's not really intelligent, or has somehow ended up in a position she doesn't deserve. Again, this is despite her being a wonderfully smart person and enjoying studying history and thoroughly earning every accomplishment she's managed. People of any field can go through this, and it can be really detrimental. I want to include that in particular to give at least a little bit of context. While I'm coming at this primarily from a visual artist perspective, given my personal experiences as a visual artist, I wanted to be completely clear that this can happen to anyone of any skill level and specialization. It could be academic, artistic, trade, it doesn't matter. Anyone can go through this. Even in my day job, I've gone through this. I second guess myself despite the fact I've been at my job for a long time now. I've been at my job nearly a decade. And I still look at things and go, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Is this really the way I'm supposed to do this? I don't think I know my job as well as I think I do. But I do. Regardless of that going through my head, I still do. And from what I've noticed at least, it often stems from low self-esteem or a lack of self-worth. And it can be hard on a person, as well as really hard to come out of whenever you fall into it. Fighting your way through imposter syndrome isn't at all an easy task. And it's made even worse by the fact that it's not a one and done battle. It's so easy to get caught in a seemingly endless loop. You fall into it, hit bottom, and then so slowly claw your way back up. And a lot of times you don't make it all the way back up. Something happens and you tumble all the way back down into the pit, only to start all over again, to have to try and climb out again. And there are times honestly when it feels like you never are going to really manage to escape. It can be an endless cycle, and it doesn't have to be things related to what you're doing that trigger it. Sometimes it can just be that self-doubt creeping in if you're someone who's prone to it. If you struggle with your self-worth, it can just be that creeping in. Honestly, I've even had issues with grief causing it, because I didn't manage to accomplish the things I wanted to, before somebody I cared about passed away. So am I really any good? Should I give up? Is there really any point in me even continuing? There is, of course, a point to me continuing, but I feel like that's an important thing to recognize, is that there are a number of things that can trigger it and start you into the tumble of falling into that pit. Like I said, some of them, in my personal experience, the triggers are very different. Some of them are external and some are internal. One of the biggest external reasons can be well-meaning critique, which makes it that much more important to be aware of the fact that you might be dealing with it and going through it. Somebody doesn't have to be trying to be mean or rude to accidentally send you into an imposter syndrome spiral. I appreciate critique. I welcome it, so long as someone isn't being a jerk. It tells me what I need to practice and work on. That doesn't change the fact, though, that at times, it can cause me to question my worth as an artist and a creator. It's also important for me to recognize that that spiral is a struggle I face and something I need to handle. It doesn't make critique a bad thing, or my struggle the fault of whoever gave me that critique in the first place. Are there people who will try and intentionally bring you down on purpose? Yes, there are. But usually those are the ones that are really easy to spot and recognize. That said, even just from a mental health standpoint, you have to learn to recognize and take responsibility for your points where you need to work on. If that's learning to recognize when you're going through this and learning to acknowledge, okay, I'm going through this. It's not their fault, and it's not the fault of the fact that I got a bad critique, or that I got a critique, or I'm doing something wrong. But there are also internal struggles. I know in a different video, I think it was on not wanting to draw, or I think it was when you don't feel your art is good enough. Which video was it? Hang on, now I have to look it up because I am curious and I want to be specific. So, I actually called it The Cycle and How I Handle It. Okay, so I referred to it as The Cycle in that. Sorry, I'm a little bit coughy. The cycle is essentially what I call the process of struggling with art, realizing I'm in a period of improvement, and then learning something new before it starts all over again. You hit a point usually where you're content with your stuff, and then stuff just starts to look incorrect. Things look wrong. And the cycle is something that has caused me many falls into the imposter pit. Sometimes you can spend ages on a piece, and no matter what you do, no matter what you fix, what you try and tweak and adjust, nothing looks right at all. You're in a period of improvement, and there is a part of you that knows that. But a louder part is just screaming at you that you're no good and you'll never be an artist no matter how hard you try. And nothing you do ever looks good and right. And that anytime it has looked right and good to you, it's because you weren't looking at it good enough or you were wrong. But the thing is, you have to shut that part down. Fighting it is so hard. But even though a lot of this has been talking about the negatives, I want you to know that it isn't all doom and gloom. It's so difficult, but you can get past it. No matter what that horrible, awful voice tells you, no matter what it says or whispers in your ear, I don't want you to give up. I want anyone listening, anyone with that voice whispering in your ear, to keep going. I see you and you're wonderful. You're wonderful and creative, and everything that you've accomplished, you've earned with hard work and dedication. Artist or scholar or tradesperson, you are good enough, and I want you to know that. Whatever it is that you do, you can't give up, and you matter. Look, no matter your field or your goals, every person just by nature of being different, because no matter how much we try and conform to things, every person is different. You still bring something unique to whatever you do. Problem solving, creativity, a unique perspective, humor, something. You matter, and what you bring to it is something only you bring to it. Even if similarities come up in things, because I've mentioned it before, I think in a video where I talked about art style, which I'm going to cover that again. Sometimes similarities are just gonna come up. They're gonna, even like with art style, with stories, because there's very little original ideas, but the perspective on it is what makes it different and important and interesting. So even if similarities come up, anything you contribute, if you put your all into it, you're bringing something of yourself to it. And it's important. The point I'm honestly getting at is that it's important to fight back against the feelings and the voice and the imposter syndrome and still move forward. What you put into the world matters, and I'm excited to see what others put out into the world. So have you guys dealt with imposter syndrome, be it in art or anything else? If you have, was there anything in particular that caused the feelings, or did it just hit out of nowhere? I've experienced both, and I really would like to know about how others experienced it, because that tends to give me a little bit better perspective on mine and what may have happened. Even if it feels like it hit out of nowhere, there may have been something that triggered it that I didn't even realize. But honestly, thank you guys so much for watching, and I definitely want to thank my patrons on Patreon, Inside Chaos and Salmon. I appreciate all of you so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and continue to be creative. And I will see you all next time. Bye!